Whoa! I'm regretting this right now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to On Fire. This is our new show, maybe just a one-off show, because I do think it's going to be painful. I'm here with my special guest, Ken Coughlan.
Hello.
He is a Christian apologist, and he also is the head of the media ministry here at Trinity. And I'm going to be asking him some questions while we're eating different levels of hot wings, and they get spicier as we go. Do you like spicy food?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't like chug jalapenos like potato chips or anything, but I like spicy wings, so.
Okay. Well, I like spicy food too, so we will see how this goes. So let's start off by eating the mildest one, which is going to be out here. It's just your normal, like, Texas Pete hot sauce. Cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
The whole thing. There you go.
That was not a problem yet.
I'm going to ask you my first question.
Okay.
How did you get into ministry?
It was as a result of being a lawyer, believe it or not. I started out after I went to law school. One of the things they teach you at law school is to basically you're questioning everything. You're learning how to cross-examine witnesses and to find the holes in the case. And so I actually approached my pastor at the time, this was down in Virginia, and I said, I'm looking for some resources. At the time, I was looking to investigate Old Testament prophecies that were fulfilled by Jesus, because you always hear about all these prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. Well, I was a lawyer now. I wanted to look into it myself. And while he was a lot of help inspirationally, he really didn't have anything to tell me. So I had to go find the resources myself. But then when I started investigating that and found the answers to that, then I started investigating other questions and other questions and other questions. And eventually that led to me starting my own apologetics ministry.
Great story. How you feeling?
So far, great.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. All right. Let's eat the next one. I'll ask you my next question, and we'll do two questions with the next hot sauce. So this one is called habanero pepper hot sauce.
All right.
Let's see how that goes.
Okay, here we go. There's a little bit of an afterpunch there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are some misconceptions about faith?
The biggest misconception about faith is, you ever heard the expression blind faith? And that is not the way the Bible uses the word faith. I use the analogy of like the word trust as maybe gives a better understanding what the Bible means by faith. I mean, it's kind of like having faith in. We're called to have faith in Jesus. You're smiling. Is the hot sauce kicking in a little bit?
Like it definitely is kicking in a little bit.
I tell a story about my son when he was a little toddler, and he was standing on the stairs one time, and all of a sudden I hear from behind me, "Daddy!" I turn around, and there's my son already in midair, launching himself at me for me to catch him. Well, I say the story that he had faith in me. He had faith that I would catch him. Was it blind faith? No, because he'd done this a million times in the past, and I'd caught him every single time. And so based on other things that he knew, he had trust. He could trust that I was going to catch him. And so faith isn't 100% certainty of knowledge, but it's you have enough to trust, to warrant taking that step of trust and trusting in God.
Yeah.
It's not blind. That's the biggest misconception.
Yeah. What do you think, in your opinion, is the coolest story in the Bible? And I'm going to say, other than like the resurrection and all that. It's a great one. It's a great one.
I kind of like the story of Job. And it's a long book, and it's a lot of reading, but there's so much truth in there. Because the idea of the book of Job is that, Satan comes before God and says, hey, you got this guy Job down here, that he loves you a whole lot, but I bet you if I make enough bad stuff happen to him that he will curse you, God. God says, go for it. Give it your best shot. And so Satan goes down, and he makes all this bad stuff happen to Job. And Job's friends all come for him and say, well, you must have done something wrong, because bad stuff wouldn't be happening to you unless you did something wrong. So that's the first lesson I really find powerful in Job, is the idea that God says, no, that's not necessarily how it works. We live in a fallen world, so what happens to us is not necessarily a direct result of what we have done. It's just the fact that we live in a fallen world, so bad stuff's going to happen. So, hey, look forward to the resurrection. But then as the story goes on, you get to the end where Job never curses God, but he does get a little upset. And so at the very end, he actually demands answers from God. He's basically like, God, I demand you tell me why this is all happening to me, because I know I haven't done anything wrong. I know my friends are wrong about all that. Excuse me. And that's the challenge here. And God kind of puts him in his place over, I think it's like 2 or 3 chapters, basically saying, you cannot expect, Job, you little puny human, to understand everything I understand. Where were you when I created the world? Where were you when I told the oceans where to stop? So because it's a really good story and it has those 2 really powerful lessons about not jumping to the conclusion that bad things that happen to us as payback for things we've done wrong in this life, and also learning that, sometimes we're just not going to be able to understand why bad things happen, and that God's going to see more than we do. Those are really powerful lessons, not just from a Bible study perspective, but to help us persevere when bad stuff does happen to us.
So let's take a bite of the next one.
Are you sure?
This one, yeah. That last one definitely snuck
It was
up.
more than the Texas Pete.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So this one is called The General's Hot Sauce Grunt Green.
All right, here we go.
I don't like the taste of that one.
I got to be honest. I mean, if we're talking like taste reviews, it's been kind of descending for me. This last one, though, has the radioactive symbol staring at me. I'm a little worried.
A little worried about that one. So can you tell me, we sort of covered this with the second question, but why do you believe in something that you can't see?
Number one is relationship, and that's probably the best one. Sometimes I say, look, people try to come up to me and tell me there's no God. You might as well tell me that my wife doesn't exist or my children don't exist. When you have a relationship with someone, it doesn't matter what someone else tries to say and what they bring up to you. It's like, you can't tell me that person's not real because I have a relationship with them. And when you do start to trust God, you do see that God does answer your prayer. And so one reason I can have faith in something I don't see is because I have a relationship with him. So you're never going to convince me otherwise.
Love that answer. Let's go ahead, take a bite of the next one. And I've got 2 questions with this one.
Wait a minute. You're supposed to do multiple questions with the easier one.
Yeah, but we got to move on. This one wasn't even good. So this is, I'm going to butcher this, El Yucateco Chili Habanero. I know this one's hot. I put this one on a lot of things.
All right. So can I do one of these things where I just kind of like, I took a bite?
No.
Cheating?
It's cheating.
Here we go. How big of a bite do I have to take?
I don't know. So, do you think it's important to learn about other religions?
Give me a sec. Yes, we need to investigate our own hearts. All right. I do think it's important as a general rule. How much you dive into that, they always have a delayed reaction. How much you dive into that, well, you have to decide for yourself. You don't want to get so invested in it that it's starting to have you, lead you away from your own faith, obviously. And different people, well, that will be at different points. But it is important to investigate other religions. Number one, because the Great Commission, we're told to go and make disciples. You're having a hard time?
I'm having a hard time. Okay.
You're not having to talk right now. So,
no.
We're told to go and make disciples. Well, part of going to make disciples is to knowing where people are at when you meet them. And so there is definitely value in understanding those things, as long as, number one, you don't get so caught up in it, and you make sure while you're doing it, you're also studying your own faith and staying connected with God to help have that anchor. You have a support system in your church. But also remember that everybody's an individual.
I like that answer. So with the last sauce and the last 2 questions,
Two questions for the last sauce?
It is, yeah. And we have to put a little bit extra sauce on it. That is the rules with other shows like this. Might have snuck this one in.
Okay, but this is not the other shows. So.
Well, we got to do it. So I'm going to pour a little out, and we're just going to dip it in.
Okay.
Let me ask the question first, and then we'll take a bite.
Okay. That's cheating.
No, I don't think so.
You get to talk without it. Okay.
How do you know God is answering your prayers?
Cheers. Whoa! I'm regretting this right now. All right. God's answering your prayer. First of all, because he always does. I mean, that part of that, I'm allowed to drink this, right?
Yes.
Part of that faith And that trust is he's given us reason to know he always answers. And like my wife likes to say, sometimes he'll say yes, sometimes he'll say no. Sometimes he'll say, are you kidding me? Wow. Oh my gosh. I think the number one key to knowing God answers your prayer is, first of all, not to throw down a fleece. In other words, oh my gosh, was it... somebody's going to watch this later, and I'm forgetting which biblical figure it was in the Old Testament now. It was... Was the guy that...
Was it Isaac?
It wasn't Isaac. I don't think it was... No, it was one of the prophets, Old Testament prophet. It was the one... It was Gideon? Maybe it was Gideon.
I'm crying.
He basically threw down he said, well, God... Yeah, I think it was Gideon. He said, God, I know you're telling me to do this, but if you really want me to do it, I'm going to throw this fleece down to the ground, and in the morning, if the fleece is wet but the ground all around it is dry, then I'll know you really mean it. And of course, that's exactly what happened. And then the next day he says, okay, well, I know you told me to do this, but I want the opposite to happen. I'm shortchanging this because my mouth is burning. And then that's exactly what happened. But that is not a recipe for what we should be doing. When we are praying to God, we are talking to God, we need to be willing to let him determine how that prayer is answered rather than us expecting an answer within our parameters.
Yeah.
So if you communicate regularly with God, you will see those things in your life. The key is, and the mistake that people make is lots of times they try to predetermine what that result should look like. The other thing I'll say is a huge misconception about prayer is people tend to think of prayer as a cosmic vending machine, that God is, the whole point of prayer is I can ask for God for stuff, and if God gives it to me, then prayer works. If he doesn't give it to me, then prayer doesn't work.
I'm asking God right now to make this go away.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But that's not what prayer is all about. I mean, God is not your butler, your personal butler to do as you will, all right? The fundamental purpose of prayer is to build that relationship. It's kind of like if I say I have a friend, but I never talk to them, don't communicate with them at all, how much of a friend am I really being?
Terrible.
If I say I want to have a relationship with God, then I need to communicate with him. So fundamentally, the main purpose of prayer is to build that relationship. Do I have to take another bite before you answer that question? Thank you.
I don't even know how you talked that much.
Well, you ready for that next question? Okay, this is called stupid. Go for it.
Final question. What is the best thing about being a believer?
Not having to eat hot wings. Okay, this is going to sound corny, but it's true. It's salvation. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think it's going to start coming out my nose here in a minute. We don't deserve forgiveness. None of us deserve forgiveness. We deserve condemnation. But God still forgave us and paid the price for that. Forgiveness didn't come free. You look at all the evidence from history, and it's indisputable that, yes, we are a fallen people and we don't deserve to be forgiven. And so the fact that there's nothing we could do to earn that, and God has given that to us as his free gift of grace, I mean, how can you say anything else other than that is the best thing about being a believer?
Best thing. The greatest thing. Thank you so much for doing this with me, for answering these questions. I hope that you guys were able to learn something or just dive deeper a little bit into your own faith, or share this with somebody that you love who might have some questions about Christianity right now. Join us for church on Sundays if you'd like. We have worship every Sunday at 9 o'clock and at 11 o'clock, and you can watch that here
There it is.
online or in person. So thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and I'm gonna go get some more water. I think. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.